a leader in our committee who made a seminal contribution to the SSI component of this legislation, the gentleman from New York, Mr. Reynolds.
The gentleman from New York is recognized for 4 minutes.
I thank the gentleman from Pennsylvania, and I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection.
I want to thank both Chairman Rangel and Ranking Member McCurry, as well as Chairman Neal and Chairman McDermott and Ranking Members English and Weller for their outstanding leadership in crafting this legislation. Mr. Speaker, we come together today not as Democrats or Republicans, but as Americans. We're united in our respect for those who wear the uniform of the United States Armed Services. And we are united in our desire to ensure that programs within the Ways and Means Committee's jurisdiction, from the tax code to the SSI program, work effectively for members of the military, veterans, first responders, and their families. And I strongly urge the passage of this legislation. I would like to highlight 2 specific provisions in the bill that have been of particular interest to me during my time in Congress. The first provision, Section 202, is modeled on legislation, the Blind Veterans Fairness Act, that I first introduced in the year 2000. My legislation would correct a problem in the federal SSI rules and affects blind veterans in 4 states, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts, that provide these veterans modest annuities in recognition of the substantial sacrifice they've made in service to our country. Regrettably, under current federal law, these states' annuities actually reduce any SSI payments for which blind veterans would otherwise be eligible. As we heard from Michelle LaRocque of the New York's Division of Veterans Affairs at our Ways and Means hearing 3 weeks ago, this quirk in the federal SSI rules creates a hardship not only for the affected veterans themselves, but for the states that administer these annuity programs as well. As in years past, the bill I've introduced in the 110th Congress, H.R. 649, has enjoyed bipartisan support and has been strongly endorsed by the Blinded Veterans Association. I would also like to publicly thank Chairman Rangel, not just the chair of our committee, but the dean of my state's congressional delegation for his co-sponsorship of prior versions of this bill. And I look forward to working closely with him to see the proposal finally enacted into law. Let me turn briefly to a separate provision, Section 107 of the bill, which will permanently allow penalty-free withdrawals from IRA 401ks and other retirement funds for reservists and National Guardsmen called to active duty. As we all know, when Guardsmen and reservists are called up, they often face significant reductions in pay compared to their civilian salaries, putting an economic strain on their families. To lessen this economic hardship, many of them chose to draw down on their retirement funds. Unfortunately, under prior law, they faced a 10% early withdrawal tax when they did so, and they faced restrictions on making repayments to their retirement funds upon returning from active duty. Last year's Pension Protection Act provided relief from this penalty tax and permitted unlimited repayments within 2 years after leaving active duty, but only for Guardsmen or reservists called to active duty before December 31st, 2007. To ensure that this important relief remains available on a permanent basis going forward, I introduced H.R. 867, the Guardsmen and Reservists Tax Fairness Act, on February 7th of this year. This legislation has also attracted a bipartisan group of co-sponsors, as well as endorsements from several leading veteran service organizations. I look forward to seeing these common-sense changes enacted into law over the coming weeks. Before yielding back the balance of my time, I would ask unanimous consent that the endorsement letters I referred to be included in part of the record.
Without objection.
I urge a yes vote and yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back his time.